Hello, everyone. Just let me grab my slides here. There we go. Hopefully you're seeing my slides now. So my name is Bronte. I'm your TA. My pronouns are they, them. Hopefully you see me around in class. And I'm just going to quickly share some tips for your upcoming reading response to help you be successful. I encourage you to watch through and take the suggestions that are relevant to you and your writing process. So tip number one is read the instructions carefully. All of the points you need to include are listed in the assignment sheet. We are not just asking you to summarize the article. So it's really important that you read through and make sure you understand what we are asking. Make a separate list in your own words of what we are looking for. And this can be a guide to help your reading of the text and can be a checklist for after you've written your assignment. You can make sure that you've included everything before you hand it in to me. The instructions will also help you decide what is important in the article. There is a lot of information in this article, but you don't need to address every little detail, and some of the points aren't as relevant to the ideas we are discussing in this class. So looking at that list of instructions, thinking about what I'm asking you for will help you think about what is relevant to this discussion and what needs to be included in your response. Tip number two is to be specific. So a big part of what this assignment is asking for is we want to see that you have read the material carefully, that you're understanding the ideas and thinking through how these articles are relevant to the course. So a big part of how you demonstrate this is by using examples to support your ideas. Importantly, these examples should come from the article and from class. This is not a research assignment. You should not be looking to other sources. We're really thinking about things you've experienced yourself, if you've been to any of these types of exhibitions, the things that are being talked about in the article, and the examples we discuss in class. So when you're developing these examples in your response, don't just drop the name of your example in. You want to explain why they support your point. This is part of being specific. It's identifying what part of this example, what part of this artwork or this idea supports the point that you are arguing for. And then the other thing with this is take a clear position. So I should know exactly what you are arguing for or against. It should be really clear what ideas you're addressing and how you feel about them. Tip number three is to make connections. Those of you who have had me as a TA last semester will have heard me say this several times, but it's still very important. I can only mark what's on the page. Make sure you fully explain your thoughts. Connections often seem obvious in our heads when we're writing. You're the person who's done the research, thought things through, maybe done a few different drafts. So these things are really obvious to us in our own heads, but I can't make assumptions. So you need to fully explain things to me on the page, especially when it comes to making connections. That's connections between your examples, between personal experience, between your different ideas. You need to fully explain them. We are asking you to address several different points, and if you make links between them, your paper will be much stronger. Strong responses will show you're thinking about how these artworks, articles, and ideas relate to each other. Making connections shows your thinking and not just a summary of the article. It really shows that you're able to think critically about this material and are not just repeating back to us what has been told to you in class. We want to see some of that critical thinking, that engagement with the text. And also in this age of ChatGPT, this is a big part of how we make sure that it is your writing and not the product of an AI. We really want to make sure that we're seeing your thinking, not just a summary of the article. So making those connections and explaining them clearly is very important. Tip number four is to organize your ideas. So this is not an essay. You don't need an intro, conclusion, and body paragraph structure. That kind of results sometimes in a lot of repetition, and you're working with a very short word count. So I'm not going to be sitting there being like, oh, you don't have a proper essay format. So try to move away from thinking about that essay structure and more towards hitting the important points in a way that makes sense. You also don't need a thesis statement, but you do need to state what position you're taking near the beginning of your paper. So I'm not looking for the kind of like nuanced thesis statement that I might in a regular essay, but I should understand what it is you're arguing for, and you should make that clear at the beginning of your paper. I shouldn't be reading your first couple of paragraphs being like, okay, what side is this person on? You want to make it really clear. Spelling and grammar are not being marked, but your writing does need to be coherent enough for me to understand. So you're not going to be losing marks for like a misplaced comma, but if your sentences don't make sense, if your spelling is so unclear that I maybe don't know what artist you're talking about or what artwork, you will lose marks for that. I need to be able to understand what you're saying in your essay, but the little details of spelling and grammar are not what I'm looking for here. So you don't need to worry too much about that, like really detailed copy editing. But more organization and flow will make your writing stronger. This isn't just about kind of the formal elements of writing. It's really about how you make your argument come together. So put ideas in an order that makes sense. You don't want to be starting with, say, an example that is really old and then jumping up to something that is really contemporary and then maybe going back a little bit to something that's in the middle. You want to make sure that you have that reasonable flow of ideas. Make sure your points are in an order that makes sense. This will also help with the making connections and using specific examples. So those are the main 4 tips. This isn't a huge assignment, so this is a pretty short video, but to recap, number 1, read the instructions carefully. Number 2, be specific. Number 3, make connections. And number 4, organize your ideas. And the bonus tip, as always, is ask for help. You can send me an email. I'm reachable fairly quickly by email, and you can come see me in office hours, whether that's in person or virtually. Asking for help before an assignment, and ideally not on the day of the assignment, is a great way to make sure you're being successful in the course. It's always easier to talk through things and make adjustments before the assignment than it is afterwards. So I hope this was helpful. Please reach out to me if you have any questions, and good luck with your assignment.